Hey everybody, welcome back to my shop. Sorry I missed a couple of videos. I've been really busy with work and wedding planning and such, but I'm back again. And today we're going to turn this little pine bowl with a little bit of homemade dye or stain. But please remember, this is not an instructional video and it is meant for entertainment purposes only. Your safety is your responsibility, so let's get started. So we're just going to start out with this kind of odd-shaped piece of pine that my buddy Corey gave me. Thank you very much, Corey. And he's given me quite a few of these things, and what they are is actually a smaller branch that, I don't know if it got injured or damaged or whatever, but it's grown a big burl figure all around the outside of it. And so I let this sit for probably about 2 years almost, because I was just hoping that this sap inside would kind of harden up, but we'll see in a minute if it actually did or not. So I'm going to mount this up between centers, and we'll get to turning. So I've got her mounted up between centers, and I'm not sure if you can see on the camera or not, but the branch part of the piece is actually running on a bit of an angle, and I did that in order to try to capture as much of the burl figure as possible. But anyways, let's go grab a sharp tool and get to turning. So first thing we're going to do is flatten off the bottom and form a tenon. Luckily we can start out at about 1400 RPM. I'm just getting rid of a little bit of this just so it's a little bit safer in here to work with. Okay, I don't want to touch it anymore. Let's form that tenon. Okay, let's stop and take a look and see if we actually have enough. Oh yeah, look at that. We got a full tenon already. Just going to clean it up a little bit more, and then we can move on to shaping the piece. I don't need the tenon quite as big, so we'll cut her down just a little bit. You want that wood to be nice and clean. You don't want fuzzy fibers. Fuzzy fibers don't allow a nice, good, strong grip. Okay, there we go. No torn grain on that tenon, so we'll get a good strong grip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stop the lathe again until I'm happy with shaping. Meaning I won't know what there is for bark inclusion or anything. I'm just going to follow what the silhouette shows me. So I'm just going to look at this, and it looks like it's a solid piece of wood because of that silhouette effect. And I'm just going to shape until I like the shape, stop the lathe, and then see what I got for bark inclusions. That's the experiment for this turning. So let's get to her. Shape's not too bad so far. They're a very simple shape. Let's see what we got left here. Not too bad. I think what I'm going to do is give it a little bit more of a foot, and then I'll take the sharper end of this gouge, because it's double-ended gouge, and do some cleaning passes, and even that sap's hardened up. That's good. A little bit of burl figure up here. Yeah, let's refine that foot a little bit further. I don't know. Oh, we got some sticky sap here. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know how we're going to deal with that, but we'll have to find a way, I guess. Darn. Oh, man, that's a big sap pocket. Oh, well. Well, I guess I'll sharpen up the tool. And we'll take another pass at her. I've got the tool wrist kind of facing away from the surface of the wood to give me some more support while shear scraping. Unfortunately, I've already got some sap whipping around the room all over me and all over the tool wrist, but we're going to persevere and see what we come up with in the end. Okay, surface looks pretty nice and clean, no torn grain really, a couple little nicks here I guess, but that won't be too bad to take care of. Man, this sap pocket is really being a troublesome thing though. It's spitting out sap all over everything. I don't even know how we're going to finish this bowl because that's going to be an issue. Maybe I'll have to burn it with a torch and hopefully it sets it up. But next thing we're going to do is whittle down this little nub on the bottom here, and we'll leave that nub in place as a little center reference point for when we reverse the bowl in the final stage when we finish the bottom. But let's whittle it down so we can fit it in the chuck to grab it and hollow it. Flip her around. Let's make sure that the shoulder of this tenon is butted up against the face of this jaw really tight by pushing against the piece in the center. Give her a couple good cranks. That's good and snug. Running pretty good and true. Just going to continue working with the swept back grind. It's been working out well so far, so we're at 1400 RPM. Going to try to find out where that edge or where that rim should start. And I'm going to cut back in. Always cutting downhill. Actually sharpened up on a stone wheel this time because I didn't want that sap getting into my expensive CBN. Okay, let's get this hollowed out. Just going to check the depth of everything and the wall thickness. Feels about right. Looks pretty good. Oh, I ran out of tool length again. Can't get there with the tool. So let's check for wall thickness again. That's pretty good. What I think I might do, since I'm pretty much all the way through everything. Oh, look at the sap coming out here. Look at that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to get a lot of that sap out of there first, and then we're going to do some negative rake scraping in here to get this smoothed out and refined a little bit further. I think what I'm going to do next before I turn the other pieces that are like this is I might run it through a homemade kiln powered by light bulbs and bring it up to about 150 Fahrenheit for a couple days, and I think that's about the temperature at which this stuff would start hardening at. I'll have to check my Understanding Wood by R. Bruce Hoadley, which is a great book, by the way. If you're ever interested in how wood moves around and dries and everything about wood, how it grows, Understanding Wood by R. Bruce Hoadley. Okay, let's do some negative rake scraping. Well, the negative rake scraper makes some pretty quick work of that, doesn't it? Beautiful. It's actually pretty nice grain in there. Now we got to figure out this sap problem. Usually I would sand before burning, because if you burn something before you sand, a lot of times the tool marks will show through, but if I try sanding, I'm just going to make a gummy mess. So I'm going to burn it first, then sand it, and then maybe touch up, burn it, and we'll see what happens. Now, since the sap is quite a flammable substance, I'm not going to burn this bowl in the shop. I'm going to do it outside, and it's quite cold here. It's actually the warmest day of the week so far, and it's still like minus 25, minus 40 or something with the wind chill. It's been like minus 35 Celsius last couple of days without even taking in the wind chill, so it's been cold, but I'm not going to take you outside because the camera don't like it too much, which is an iPhone, and so we'll come back when it's all burnt up. Okay, so the heat didn't totally harden that sap up, but what it did is it kind of made it more liquefied, and a lot of it ran out of the hole, so I wiped it up, and a lot of it kind of seeped into the wood from what it looks like, so it actually did work pretty good. I can see right through the one hole now. And did it ever light up as soon as that flame hit that sap? So don't ever burn any kind of wood in the shop that has any sap or anything like that, because if it ever caught fire and dripped out of there, you're going to have a disaster. And for sure, if you ever have fire in the shop, clean up every last little bit of shavings and dust too. You can't be safe enough when you're mixing wood and fire. But so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand it up, and then I'm going to lightly retouch it again with the burning, just to try to get a little bit more even burn throughout the piece and see if it can highlight the figure a little bit. But I'm going to sand with, it's only pine, so for sure just 223, 2400 would be plenty, and we'll come back just before we burn. Okay, so the sanding's all complete, and the bowl actually has some fairly nice figure to it, but it's just pine, so it doesn't really pop out that much. So I'm going to try a new experiment. I went into the kitchen and I got the juice from some blackberries, blueberries, and the other one, raspberries. There we go. And so I'm going to use this as a kind of a homemade dye, and we'll see if it actually works. Hopefully it does. Okay, so we might have to get it to kind of absorb a little bit. Again, this is an experiment. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. My goal is to not get it too much onto the bark, and to kind of get an even coat. Keep moving it around a bit. You see the figure and the grain is actually really a lot of just grain direction change. So wherever you got the grain coming up to become kind of end grain at the surface, like you see down here, it's absorbing quite a bit more, and it's kind of giving it, it's helping that figure pop out a bit, eh? So this might work. A lot of times experiments don't work out, but when they do, you might have found something. Now, I'm sure people have done this before, but Okay, I'm going to put some on the outside now. It's going to be a little trickier on the outside to not have it go running everywhere, so I'll have to be a little more careful with how much I'm putting on. I wiped all the dust off really good first too, so that it has a chance to get right to the surface and hopefully keeps the surface a little bit cleaner. And again, I'm not trying to get it onto the bark. I want the bark to kind of still be that kind of dead old color. Geez, this is actually working. I'm liking this. Nobody's going to be able to tell it's pine now. Hey, that's a good thing. Okay, well, I'm going to keep applying this. And then I'm going to lightly scuff it with 400 again, because this is mostly water, so it's obviously going to raise the grain quite a bit. Oh, and by the way, the torch work actually did solidify all that sap in there. So if you're ever working with something interesting like pine and you're getting a lot of sap, take it out of the shop and heat her up with a torch a bit, and it really does set that resin up. It even kind of drives it into the wood a bit too, but after I blew off the dust, nothing stuck to it, so it did set it up. So there we go. I'm going to let this dry. Then I'm going to scuff it up, because it's going to raise the grain, like I said, and we'll be back after that. Well, it dried up to much more of a pink color than I imagined, but hopefully the finish will make it a little bit more bold again. And I'm going to just use some shellac to seal it up, and I might top coat it with some wax or something. Oh yeah, that shellac really does bring it out. That's a lot better. Still pretty pinky. Maybe what I could have done is still burned the wood a little bit, and it would have kind of given it maybe more of a red hue. I'm not sure. I'll have to experiment a bit. Has anybody tried this before? Any tips? I'm going to make sure to soak the bark down real good so that the shellac will stabilize it. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry up. Then I'm going to go ahead and lightly scuff it with 600 grit or something like that, and then probably put on another coat. And I might top coat it with some thin beeswax or something like that. But we'll see. Might not need to. Sure is pink though. So I just finished topping it off with a little bit of beeswax to give it more of a kind of satin feel. And one interesting thing the shellac did is it must have dissolved the dye a little bit, and I'm not sure if it pushed it into the wood further or what, because none of it came off on the cloth, but it sure lightened it up quite a bit, which is nice because it's a little less overwhelming, and it kind of increased the contrast here between the light and the dark a little better. So I don't know, I'd say I lucked out a little bit. But anyways, we're going to flip it around and put it into a jam chuck, and we'll finish the bottom. I've just got a little jam chuck mounted up in the chuck here, and I've got some gym flooring that's glued to it, and let's take a little piece of shop towel to protect the finished surface. Now I'll bring up the tailstock, and now you can see why I left that little nub at the bottom as a nice little center reference point when we reverse it. So I just had to whittle it down small enough so it would fit between the chuck jaws and not get jammed in there when tightening. So there, can easily finish the bottom now. I'm undercutting the foot just a little bit so it always sits on the outer edge, and then I'm just sanding up the bottom, signing it with my name, the type of tree, and the year, and then just rubbing on some finish. Thanks for tuning into this week's video. If you liked the video, please click the like button and share it around. If you have any questions or suggestions for me, please fire those off in the comment section down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do for more videos in the future, hopefully every Friday. So thank you very much, have yourselves a great day, and God bless.